ESPN MT app coming to you live from the Press Box Sports Bar and Grill. We'll be hanging out here all evening long. So if you'd like to come down and watch the NCAA tournament, please do. We are down here on behalf of Blackfoot Communications. Appreciate Blackfoot for setting us up. When I say I like to be right, but sometimes I'm wrong, and I'm willing to admit it, I thought underdogs were not going to be a huge part of this NCAA tournament. We haven't had any crazy huge underdog stories yet, except for High Point beating Wisconsin. But I think a lot of people had that in their brackets. But Siena took Duke all the way down the wire. I would love to know the Vegas statistics on this, because Duke was a 28.5-point favorite, and they beat Siena, squeaking it out by 6 points, 71-65. So we got full updates for you from across the NCAA tournament. We're also going to talk all sorts of local and statewide topics. Rajim Seabrook was supposed to co-host with us, but he is under the weather, so hopefully Raj is feeling better. But we are going to talk a variety of other things. Because we are hosting this watch party here, we got a whole bunch of people to bring out of the bullpen. So Mike Nugent on his way to come hang out with us. We're going to talk some Grizz football and some AA basketball with him, because he was in Billings this last weekend. Ryan Tutel was down here earlier. He's on his way back, so he'll co-host the second hour with us. But we also have one of our favorites, Brooks Nuanez, sitting in with us. What's up, dude? How's your bracket?
Bracket's looking great. How couldn't it be, Coulter? It's only 6 games in, so things are looking fine for me.
Good. Well, here's where we're at with the NCAA tournament thus far. Vanderbilt had to rally, but they did rally, 78-68 against McNeese State. Duke, they were losing by as many as 15 points, but they do flip it and win 71-65. Nebraska, I think a lot of people had the Nebraska-Troy game as maybe one where you bet the underdog on the spread, or even had the underdog on the money line, but not so fast. Nebraska wins 76-47. Louisville has to get it out, but they get it done against South Florida, 83-79. And then as we are in the midst of it right now, oh, by the way, TCU kicked off the tournament with a 66-64 win. I mentioned High Point. They beat Wisconsin 83-82. Right now, Michigan State drilling North Dakota State 56-31. And Arkansas in full control over Hawaii 58-45. You had a great stat about Nebraska. This is it's not true.
It is true, but it has to do with the entire breadth of the women's program, the men's program.
Oh, sure, okay.
But it is their first NCAA tournament win of all time.
On the men's side, right?
It sure is, yep.
Yeah, so Nebraska has been around forever, been playing college basketball for 146 years. This was their first win on the men's side, so that's a pretty amazing statistic when you really think about it. What did you think of Siena and Duke? I
thought that was a crazy impressive performance. I mean, Duke is one of the better teams I've seen in the last 4 or 5 years. Let alone totally. This season right here, right now.
I mean, Cam Boozer is objectively probably the national player of the year. He's projected as the number 1 pick in the NBA draft, unless A.J. DeBonsa is the number 1 pick. But either way, those guys are like 1A and 1B. Pretty good effort by Siena to take Duke all the way down the wire.
Now that we've had a 16 beat a number 1 in the last in the last 10 years, I think it's happened twice now.
Sure, yeah.
I think that gives a little bit of confidence when you're playing with house money. If you're a 14, 13, 12, there is a little bit of expectation there. With a 16 seed, there really is no expectation. So that house money came true for Siena. Do you know who Siena's coach is? Former Syracuse great.
Jerry McNamara.
Jerry McNamara,
that's right.
Which is very cool. So watching him roam the sidelines was very awesome.
I almost said Rick Pitino, because I know Rick Pitino got his bounce back at Iona before he got the St. John's job.
Sure.
But, I mean, the Northeastern basketball thing is wild, right? Like, I think about this all the time, because there's been such this endless debate. By the way, Nuanez Now, you want to stream us, you always can, 1029ESPN.com, the ESPN MT app. You can also find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We are live from the Press Box Sports Bar and Grill on behalf of Blackfoot Communications. I think about this all the time, though, because there's this elusive thought of what does it take to become a mid-major power in the western United States. And as we sit here in Missoula, or if you're over the divide in Bozeman, in the Big Sky Conference, you're Idaho State, what does it take? And people always point to Gonzaga. There's a variety of different things that make Gonzaga ripe for what they have become. But the number one factor that people don't acknowledge is they don't have football.
No football.
So then when you say a school like Siena or Iona or whoever, High Point
probably doesn't have football.
They are pouring the money in, right? Like the University of Montana, for example, has a $3.5 million basketball budget. Montana State, same deal, about $3.5 million. High Point probably has a 3 times that amount of basketball budget.
No doubt.
Because they don't have football. So it just makes all of the different things so much more fluid when it comes to investing in basketball. It's like one of our favorites, Jeff Choate, used to always say, you get what you emphasize. And that's so true when it comes to the financials of NCAA men's and women's basketball. So let's put this in perspective, though, for the Big Sky Conference. Last couple nights we've seen the play-in games. They featured the 16 seeds with Howard and Maryland-Baltimore County, and then Prairie View A&M moving on last night too. We also saw the 11th seed matchups between Texas and NC State, and then Miami of Ohio last night, who made it rain. It's so hard to not watch that and then try to say, well, how does this compare to what we watch all the time in the Big Sky Conference? But I think that there's a common thread here. And that's the three-pointer. And that's the thing that I think is, I'm not going to say absent, but that had a rise and then has sort of come back to earth in the Big Sky. There was a moment in time when the Big Sky was one of the most prolific three-point shooting leagues in the country.
No doubt.
I think that's the thing that could put a Big Sky team over the top, and I think it's the thing that's been eluding a Big Sky team in the tournament. How do you put in perspective what we watch on a weekly basis throughout the normal regular season compared to what we've seen from some of these other mid-majors, Siena, Miami of Ohio, and otherwise, so far early on here in this tournament?
Well, I think you hit it right on the head, Coulter. As the three-pointer has evolved over the last 20, 30 years, it's always been important to the game. But in the NCAA tournament, especially when you're an upset bid league like the Big Sky, it's always going to be the catalyst.
That's right.
You're not going to win with one big man down low as a 14, 15 seed. You're not going to win with a guard who's getting layups going downhill on someone. You're going to win with shooting as a team, especially. Sure, we've seen some stars get hot, but I do think that is a formula for an upset bid, no doubt.
Live from the press box, probably presented by Blackfoot Communications. Blackfoot has been helping Montanans make strong connections for more than 70 years. They have headquarters in both Missoula and Bozeman. Blackfoot has been providing steady, high-quality jobs and high-quality connections to Western Montanans for decades. Blackfoot's mission is to connect people, businesses, and communities. Connect to more with Blackfoot Communications. To find out more about how Blackfoot can improve your connection to your community, visit blackfoot.com. I thought this for the most startling sort of proof of concept moment I've had as an observer was the last time I actually went to the NCAA tournament. Schedule-wise, it has not worked for me to go to an NCAA tournament site since Montana State played Texas Tech in San Diego back in 2022. But that Montana State team had Jabril Bello, who I think is one of objectively the most talented and dominant big guys we've seen in the Big Sky. They also had great Osabar, who went on to then be, like a borderline All-American type of player at Utah State. And when that Montana State team rolled out against Texas Tech, it was a jaw-dropping moment for me. Because I'm watching them, and Jabril Bello, he had a couple plays earlier in that season where you're aghast. You're like, this guy looks like Shaq compared to all these guys,
no doubt,
in the Big Sky Conference. And then he's going against Texas Tech, and Texas Tech's two-guard is 6'8". I know Texas Tech's a bad example. That was one of the worst draws in the history of the Big Sky in the NCAA tournament. But it just put into perspective what we've always talked about. And I think it's such a weird dynamic that exists in the Big Sky. I think it's one of the only leagues in the country where the front runners, the teams that are the ones setting the pace, they are a big dog. They are like a high major team to the teams they are playing. Like to Idaho State, Montana and Montana State are a high major team that they have to play during their conference schedule. Same to Eastern Washington, Montana and Montana State are a high major team. But when those Montana teams then get to the big dance, they have a high major attitude and they have to encompass a low major attitude. It's been the thing that I think has been elusive for the teams out of the Big Sky for a long time, especially when they come from Montana, Montana State, or Weber State, because those are the big dogs. Those are the ones that are leading the way. And then when you see it actually play out, it's such a weird deal to try to encompass an underdog mentality, where we've seen the 13, 14, 15 seeds that get hot and do it. Princeton doesn't have a problem encompassing an underdog mentality because they're so much more even with their league, and the style that they play is so much more different as well. So I wonder how that plays into Idaho tonight, because I think Idaho is completely and utterly overmatched when it comes to their matchup against Houston. But they also might have the underdog mentality, because guess what they just did? They just beat the 2, 3, and 4 seeds in the Big Sky tournament when they were the 7th seed. So maybe they have a little bit more riding on it. I don't know. What do you make of just that dynamic, though, and how the Big Sky has had to always shift its mentality from front runner to underdog against the big dogs?
I think it's a really apt point, Coulter, especially in the Western United States, where we only talk about 4 true Division I conferences. So
right.
Overall, the landscape of what basketball looks like in the Western United States does put these at kind of high major programs, and they do act like that. They do facilitate their offense and defense like that. That's where I think the women's game has been really interesting as far as the draws go. Yes. Montana State playing a different style. Portland State years ago with a really interesting matchup 2-3 zone. And as the women's league has started to quote-unquote improve in RPI,
improved, yep.
They keep getting, now they're a 13 seed. If the women's league can find a way to get a 12 seed,
yep.
and you put a team like Montana State in there who full court presses the entire time, plays a different style than big boy through the post basketball like a lot of the big Sky schools are doing, I think that gets you a really good chance to have an upset bid.
Brooks Nuanez, Coulter Nuanez here on Nuanez Now live from the press box, probably presented by Blackfoot Communications. Okay, let's talk about that note real quick. Mike Nugent just walked in, so we'll trade the headset over to him in just a quick minute. But the Big Sky Conference on the women's side has made strides. The thing that also makes it applicable for the women's league to make strides is they can actually get non-conference games.
Absolutely. It's a huge piece of this.
BYU was in Missoula this last year. South Dakota State has come to both Montana and Montana State in recent years. You can also always get a chance to go to their place, right? Utah was in Missoula this year. UNLV was in Bozeman. Like you can get great non-conference games. So when you're talking about like High Point's coach after they beat Wisconsin had little sideline hit with John Rothstein that went viral, because he was like, I think it's pretty clear right now that mid-majors should play high majors so that people don't think we didn't play anybody. Nobody will play us. Nobody will play Miami, Ohio. Give us these teams. We won't be a 12 seed. Nobody will be shocked that we beat Wisconsin. We're a 31-win team. In the women's league, you can get that. So that is a point where you can actually make progress. And you've seen it now consistently since Northern Colorado under Cami Etheridge got a 10 seed against Michigan. It's been between 10 and 13. There's not really been like anything besides that. But it is that 12 seed that you need to get to sort of up the level. That said, Idaho, a 29-win team on an 18-game winning streak. They have guard play, they have shooting, they have 2 real-deal bigs, and I think they have one of the great in-game coaches I have seen, period, men's or women's basketball, in Big Sky Conference basketball so far, in Arthur Marrera. I think he's a rising star. I hope people can get over like his lack of persona, because he's just a cool dude who's just a chiller from Brazil. I don't know if that translates to getting a Power 5 job, but from how he recruits and the stuff he runs, I think he's as good as it gets. Idaho is a 34.5-point underdog at Oklahoma tomorrow. It's in Norman, so it's at Oklahoma's home court.
The top 4 seeds all play at home the first round?
Top 4 seeds in women's basketball all play at home in the first round. That's how they choose the host sites. Oklahoma's averaging 86 points per game, so they're certainly a prolific team. I just can't imagine that Idaho's not going to be able to cover 35 points tomorrow in Norman. You've seen that Idaho team 3 days in a row last week in Boise. What do you think of just that matchup?
Yeah, I mean, the top 10 to 12 overall seeds in both the men's and women's bracket, Coulter, are going to be really tough draws no matter what.
Exactly.
That 30-point total, the 30-point spread, really starts to toe the line with you might as well. You can either get beat by 50 or it's going to be a 12-point game. I don't really see it in the middle like that.
That's right.
I mean, it's really hard to beat a team that handily. 20 points, sure, it can get away from you. You're down 15, you're down 12, and you have to foul. Like 20 points, I can see. 35 points is a lot.
That's what I'm saying. Is a 35-point spread. Oklahoma averages 86 points per game. So let's say they score their 86. I think Idaho can get to 62. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
I think Idaho can make a run at it, right? Like if Idaho lost 86 to 68, that would not surprise me. Very similar to what we saw last year with Montana State, right? They got overwhelmed early at Ohio State. Then they put it together, and they got it all the way down to 8. Then Ohio State sort of pulled away. Ohio State ends up winning by 18. But, like, 18 and 36 is a lot different. That's twice the spread. So we'll see how the Vandals fare on either side. Last thought for you before we take a break. Idaho men, 23.5-point dogs against Houston tonight at 8:10. I think this is one of the worst droughts in the history of the league since we've covered it.
I mean, they've all been pretty bad.
Yeah, this is the worst one, though, because Houston, I think Houston's the second best defensive team a Big Sky team has drawn since you and I have done this together over the last 12 years. I think the only one that supersedes it is when the Will Cherry Grizz drew Hakeem Warwick's Syracuse team. That final was 84-36. I really hope that's not what happens to Idaho tonight, but I can't help but think that that's what's going to happen to Idaho tonight. What do you think of the matchup between Houston and the Vandals?
Yeah, I mean, Idaho, as you mentioned, has that underdog mentality, or likely does, which I think is a huge piece of this pie right here. Decent guard play. Colt Mitchell's been hot. You can't say that he didn't play really well in the tournament.
He did. He played great.
Watching him throughout the years, it's like, is he a high-level national elite guard that can mess around with Houston? Probably not. Freshman of the year in Jackson Rasmussen. I mean, they have a couple pieces.
They have some guys for sure.
But I think that there's probably no way that a team like Houston, with the length of the defense, is going to give up an inch to this Idaho team.
Brooks Nuanez, Colter Nuanez here on Nuanez Now. We're live from the press box, proudly presented by Blackfoot Communications. Blackfoot Communications has been helping Montanans make strong connections for more than 70 years. Blackfoot's mission is to connect people, businesses, and communities. Connect more with Blackfoot Communications to find out more about how Blackfoot can improve your connection to your community. Visit goblackfoot.com. We will talk everything from Class AA hoops to Grizz football to NCAA tournament on the other side. Mike Nugent, special guest host. Next, keep it right here, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
DeMorris Buick GMC is ready to help you safely travel Montana's scenic roads in comfort and style. Stop by DeMorris today and test drive some outstanding SUVs. Right now, take advantage of closeout pricing on the uniquely designed and well-equipped 2024 Buick Encore GX with models starting at $28,895. Don't miss this opportunity. Go to demorris.com to preview our inventory of 2024 Buick Encores and then pay a visit to DeMorris Buick GMC on West Broadway in Missoula, your family-owned hometown dealership for over 60 years.
It's easy to see why Montana is the treasure state. At the University of Montana, we look inside. We see an old truth with fresh eyes, that Montana's greatest treasure is its people. So whatever tomorrow brings, we meet it the only way we know how, with a mind for making. Because what's made in Montana is remaking the world.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
A total of 3 high school basketball teams finished their seasons undefeated this winter. Hello, I am Hayden Smith. In Class AA girls basketball, the Bozeman-Gallatin Raptors became the first team since 2019 to repeat as state champions, behind the outstanding play of Eastern Washington-bound Jada Davis and St. Mary-bound Ave Odegaard. The Raptors finished 22-0, capping their state championship defense with a 58-41 win over Billings West in the state championship game in Billings on Saturday. In Class D girls basketball, Denton Geyser Stanford Geraldine ripped off 26 straight wins to finish unbeaten, earning the first state championship for the co-op along the way. Riel Becker had 19 points and 13 rebounds as DGSG beat Circle 64-57 in overtime of the Class C title game in Missoula on Saturday. Denton Geyser and Stanford have never had a high school girls state hoops title. Geraldine won the 1988 Class C title long before co-ops existed in Montana. In Class B boys basketball, Lodgegrass raced all the way to an unbeaten season and its 8th state title by finishing 26-0 with a 69-48 win over Harlem in the title game in Bozeman. Playing in its 13th state title game, the Indians won their 3rd state title since 2020, avenging last year's title game loss to Missoula Loyola in the process. Other state hoops champions include the Missoula Sentinel boys in AA, Billings Central boys and Havers girls in Class A, Baker's girls in Class B, and Scobie's boys in Class C.
This is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
You probably could guess, but the theme of the playlist today, dancing, because the big dance is upon us. We're down here at the Press Box Sports Bar and Grill. Colter Nuanez hanging out on behalf of Blackfoot Communications. Blackfoot Communications, connecting you and communities to more. Want to find out more about how Blackfoot can help you connect? Visit blackfoot.com. Come hang out with us. I'll be down here for the foreseeable future. I'm going to kick it all the way until the Idaho game. They play at 8:10 p.m. tonight against Houston. I think it's uphill sledding for the Vandals. I don't know if we're going to see a snapping of the streak, which is now at, well, it's been 19 matchups in a row, and I think it's approaching 20 years now from the last time a Big Sky Conference team won an NCAA tournament game. But we shall certainly see. Out of the bullpen, Mariano Rivera. You're a Yankees guy. You must love this, right?
Yeah, I'll take that.
Mike Nugent was our first attendee down here at our watch party, and he was like, well, I want to come on the show, and here he is. He's on the show. So what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
You know, I always try and be supportive of my buddy. And
I know. You are a great supporter. You're a great friend.
I drop in and out on these March Madness days when you're doing this because I enjoy it, but then I got to go to work. So
yes.
I fit this in around, work and city business.
Into work, out of work, into city business, out of city business. The man is a civil servant, and he's here to serve you, including on your favorite daily sports talk show. You're looking at the same thing I'm looking at, the Class AA all-tournament team, which I think is a great entry point. So you were in Billings this last week, and I thought it was, the boys tournament we can say whatever we want about the flow of the basketball, but in terms of the competition of the basketball, it was as good as it gets. I mean, poor Hellgate. They played 5 overtime periods to go ahead and get 4th, even though they were knocking on the door of a state title.
That semifinal game between Hellgate and West might be the most entertaining high school basketball game I've ever watched.
It went so long and so late, I fell asleep twice, and still, every time I would wake up, slap myself, we got to get in. We got to keep watching this, because a triple overtime is such a rare occasion. You had to feel bad for Hellgate. But the Sentinel West game certainly lived up to the billing. It was a defensive slugfest, but West came out on top. Sentinel came out on top against Billings West. What did you just make of that whole back and forth?
Well, I thought West did the same thing that they did to Hellgate the night before, where it's like, Hellgate got out to a double-digit lead, Sentinel did too, and then West starts pressing, and they do a good job of coming back in. That game was great, and Sentinel hung on. But I mean, what I want to lead with, honestly, is that whole tournament showed what I've been telling you all year, and
yes.
But I mean, our text messages. And Lincoln Rogers won the MVP for the AA tournament, and he is the best player in the state of Montana. And I just think it's ridiculous that he's not playing for the Montana Grizzlies next year for so many reasons. But wherever this conversation goes, I wanted to make sure and get that in, because I think it's a travesty. I mean, he is such a good basketball player.
It's amazing to watch, and it is. We'll get into that debate in a minute, but Rogers ends his senior year as the second leading scorer in the state, but the guy that was ahead of him didn't make the state tournament, so he's the leading scorer that actually went to state. He was the leading rebounder in the state. He was the leading shot blocker in the state. He was the leading steals guy in the state. He ended up in the state championship game, 25 points, 11 rebounds, 9 block shots.
The blocks were awesome.
I mean,
big moments. It was just he was a dominant player among good players.
Yes.
He was just dominant.
And here's the thing that frustrates me is I know that there's a couple knocks on him when it comes to him to being a Division I prospect. The pluses for him are he's 6'8". He can handle it. He can shoot it. He's a phenomenal offensive player. He looks like a 2-guard when he's handling the ball, but he's got the height of a real deal post player. He's a rare combination of size and skill. The knock is he, quote unquote, can't play defense. But if you watched what Sam Begley did this year, the head coach of Sentinel, they played a pretty loose and freewheeling zone all year long, and that was to accentuate Rogers' talents and his instincts. And so I get it. Like, there's not going to be a lot of zone defense played in men's college basketball at the Division I level. I just think that this kid has so much upside. Like, he has more upside than anybody I've ever seen. I'm not saying he's the best high school prospect out of Montana ever. I don't even. It's actually, he's not in that conversation yet. But in terms of his upside, through the roof, to the sky. So I just think that this guy should get an opportunity, because I think that his gap for improvement is unreal.
Sure, that narrative on defense, because I've heard that. I think it's an excuse for people who are embarrassed that they offered him and pulled him. He was the defensive player of the year. I mean,
exactly.
It's crap. And it's like his size, he could play probably 4 of the 5 positions on the floor.
That's right.
He moves well. He could shoot well. Yep. He could do everything. He could go inside. He could hit from the outside. And, I'm a season ticket holder to Grizz basketball. I go and I take my position behind the visitors bench very seriously, and I let the coach know how I feel about him. And I've watched a lot of Grizz basketball in this era and the eras before, and you know what this Grizz basketball team could use? Could use somebody who could shoot the ball consistently,
right?
Because we don't regularly seem to have that. I just think it's unfortunate that for whatever reason that's not a priority, and I just think that a guy like that, you look at him and he's tall, but you know what I think? I think that if he was in a D1 weight room, he's going to be such a phenomenal player. And we could hear the excuse of, well, you go get minutes somewhere else and you develop. Well, what he's going to do is he's going to go get minutes somewhere else and develop, and then he's going to go to a program bigger than one of the Montana schools.
See, I thought about this a lot. To me, his best comp is Grant Nelson, who played at North Dakota State. Grant Nelson did get a shot from his in-state school at NDSU, and he was a raw 6'9", combo guard type of guy that could handle the ball. And then Grant Nelson maximized it. He transferred to Alabama. He played in the Elite Eight the last 2 years. Lincoln Rogers is headed to Minnesota Morehouse. Morehead. There's Minnesota Morehouse, Morehead, and Duluth. Either way, he's going. And I know that the Grizz and maybe even the Cats are thinking, okay, let's go let that guy cut his teeth there. Let's go let that guy play 25, 30 minutes a game the next 2 years.
You know what I think about that? Sorry to cut you off. If anybody from the Grizz or the Cats, well, I don't actually care about the Cats, but I know you got a lot of Cat listeners. If anybody from the Grizz are listening right now, I am a season ticket holder. I'm a GSA member. I hate that. If that's what this program is, I don't know that I want to be a fan anymore, because I will tell you, it has gotten boring. Those games, you go to them, they're not that exciting on the regular. You see this Missoula kid who's a season ticket holder who sits across the bowl from me, could get people to care. And I know sometimes maybe it's not that simple, but it is on some level. Like, make a product that we want to care about, and some of that is getting a little bit of a tie in there.
No doubt. And that's the two things I would say about this is that, one, if you think that if Lincoln Rogers blows up at Minnesota State, that he's just going to guaranteed come back here, what happens when he goes to Wisconsin or Minnesota or Iowa or you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that he's there yet, but I think his upside as a guy that can handle the ball and shoot it like he can, like, the dude hasn't even shaved yet. What happens when he actually physically matures and, he gets to the point where he reaches his potential? The other part, though, and I think this will resonate with you, we have defined statistics in this transfer portal, NIL era of roster overturn.
Yep.
It doesn't matter how great of a program, how stable of a program that you run, you're overturning year in and year out, what? At the bare minimum, 40% of your roster, and more likely probably 50 to 60% of your roster. So if every guy on your roster has a 50 to 60% chance of leaving, why wouldn't you recruit the guy that has a chance of staying because of all the exterior things, right?
It's crazy to me, because it's like you have 13 guys on that roster, and Travis goes, 7 deep on an average night?
That's right.
And
you got 15 guys on the bench and 13 guys on scholarship.
I've heard this argument that, he's already got a Montana kid on the roster. It's like, give me a break. Like, you can do more than one, especially for a guy that can shoot right now and has the potential to develop into a legit D1 player. And you know what? We don't have to look any farther than Idaho, the team that just beat Montana. And you know what Idaho had? They had a heart, and they had 2 starters from Idaho.
And 5 total guys from the state of Idaho.
A kid from Coeur d'Alene, that little kid from Coeur d'Alene, and that big dude. Gosh, we could find one of him somewhere in Montana. That'd be great. But my point is that this idea that you can't build a competitive D1 basketball roster with 2 or 3 Montana kids and a bunch of other kids, you absolutely can, and you lose nothing, because there are guys that aren't playing at all on that roster. And I know I'm not a D1 coach, but it's frustrating to me that when there's talent that has a legitimate shot to be D1 talent, that when the Montana schools are saying, nope, not good enough. And you know what? In this era of college basketball, when the Big Sky Conference is a one-bid league, and that team's probably going to get blown out every year, maybe that should be good enough. Build your team and make it exciting. You've got just as much chance to go win the Big Sky.
No doubt. Mike Nugent joining us here on Nuanez Now, 109 ESPN Radio Live from the Press Box Sports Bar and Grill. Being at that Big Sky Conference championship game, I tweeted it before the game started, but this was like the dream of the Big Skies to have Idaho and Montana's men played in that Wednesday night nightcap, even more than even Montana and Montana State. Just because if you have Idaho in there, you got all the Vandal alum that are from around Boise. I mean, I bet you they sold 1,000 tickets that were just man off the street. You know, I went to Idaho, I live here, I'm going to come down, spend my $20. But then you saw, like you mentioned, Colton Mitchell, Brody Roberry, some of these guys that are from Idaho. They each had 100 people in the stands. They were cheering this thing on, and it made for the environment to be really cool. And I thought that was what buoyed Idaho over Montana. The other part here, though, is that, and this is the thing that I have a hard time comprehending, as sports people, sports followers, sports fans, we love to lean on that everything is getting better all the time. but then we also contradict ourselves by saying, well, nobody's ever going to be as good as Michael Jordan. Nobody's ever going to be as good as Tom Brady. So everything's getting better all the time, but there's never going to be anybody that reaches the all-time greats, right? So that's a weird dichotomy that we express to ourselves. But here's the part that I have a really hard time with. We're sitting here right now on March 19th, 2026, and it's been 20 years since a Big Sky team has won an NCAA tournament game.
Yep.
The last time a Big Sky team won an NCAA tournament game, guess what they had? An all-time great player from Colstrip, Montana, named Kevin Criswell, an all-time great player named Jordan Haskett from Missoula, Montana.
Oh, well, from Missoula Sentinel. Wait, Missoula Sentinel kids can go to the Grizz and win tournament games?
I mean, come
Weird.
on, man.
Coulter,
I mean, they had Matt DeLuey, who's from Coeur d'Alene, which is basically honorary Montana, and he's from 2 hours away, right? I think that team had 4 Montana guys on it, including 2 starters that contributed. But then you go back in the annals, and that's the part that really confuses me. Grizz have had 13 NCAA tournament teams of all time. Almost all of them had all-time great Montana players. So, how do we reconcile this? Do we believe that Division I basketball has gotten so much better, but Montana basketball has not gotten any better? That's the part that I have such a hard time with. And I'm not calling out anybody by name, but when Travis DeCuire, the head coach of Montana, played at the University of Montana, he was on teams that had great Montana players that made it to the NCAA tournament. So that's the disconnect for me, is that we have a sample size from Judd Heathcote through Larry Kostoviak where there was double-digit NCAA tournament teams from the University of Montana that had Montana guys on it, and that's been sort of absent since. Maybe that's not a coincidence. Maybe we need to have more Montana guys if we want to get back to the tournament.
And it's one of those things where it's you're not saying build the whole team with a medal.
No, that's not.
It's
not
when
at all.
a guy's good enough, and Coach Almquist from Helena, he engaged with us on social media this weekend, and he said he has no problem saying it. His length and skill translate, and he should be there. And it just doesn't make sense to me in this era at the University of Montana. And you and I have talked about this a lot on the football side, and we're writing it a little bit, but it's if we believe that sports are important at an institute of higher education, it's more than just the sports part of it. It's the connection to the community, it's the front steps, it's the front porch idea, right? And in that situation, if we want to justify basketball being something that we invest in and we fundraise for and all that, when there's a kid that's got a chance, that's a Montana kid, we should be doing what we can to get him. And if he chose to go somewhere else, that's fine. I don't like it. And, we don't have to spend the whole show talking on that, but Lincoln Rogers is good enough to be a D1 basketball player, and we're going to regret that the Grizz didn't sign him.
Well, it's a free ticket, too, right? That's the last point I'll make, is that there's been a whole bunch of guys over the last however many years that you'd consider a tweener, right? There's been these great point guards or combo guards they're small, right? One of my good buddies from high school, Charlie Cox. I mean, he was the Montana Gatorade Player of the Year at Hellgate. He was an amazing basketball player. Charlie listed himself at 6 feet. He's 5'10". He wasn't a D1 guy in body. In skill, he was not a D1 guy in body. And that's a lot of guys that have been, some of the best players in Montana. They just don't have the build. That's the part where I'm mystified by the Lincoln Rogers decisions, because the kid he's real deal 6'8" with go-go gadget arms. So this is the type of guy where I just think this: if Lincoln Rogers was currently playing his high school basketball in Salt Lake City or Oakland or Seattle or Spokane, this guy is a 3-star or a 4-star recruit that's getting offers. I'm not saying he's getting offered by Duke, but he's getting offered from Washington State and Utah State and some Mountain West WCC mid-major players like that. I just think that there's this thing that's manifested itself to make coaches believe that there's no good players on the men's side out of Montana.
Sure, the national narrative can be that about Montana. Fine, it's not true, and we know it. But sure. But you know what? The guys coaching in Montana have front row seats to this.
Right.
They should know that it's not true. I mean, it's one of those things. And that AA tournament, to shift back to the broader thing, I mean, it was great. It was fun basketball. It was fun to watch. And there was some good guys in there. I mean, more D1 side on the football side, but I mean, Cade Robinson.
Yep.
Pyron.
Evan Pyron's man, watching Evan Pyron from Hellgate play basketball was amazing because he is not a basketball player.
No, I was
there. Watching guys bounce off of him, you're like, well, this guy's going to be a great lineman or a great tight end, whatever he wants to play.
My observation of the guys I was watching with was watching him play basketball in this tournament makes me so excited that he's going to be a good football player because it's like he's got it. But I mean, even it's like Kasperger from Big Sky, junior, but I know he's a recruit that both schools are going after, and him hitting that shot, basically taking control and driving in to win the third place game, the consolation game against Hellgate.
For Big Sky,
I love when crosstown games are for a trophy at stake. Those are always a lot of fun. And I talked to one of the officials afterwards, and he's like, usually the consolation game is kind of a dress rehearsal for the big thing, but not when it's crosstown.
Totally.
It matters. And it was fun to see Hellgate and Big Sky battle that out, and it was a great game. Lots of good Missoula guys on this all-tournament team. Shout out to Zane Gilhouse. Jack McGowan, the freshman at Big Sky, was fun to watch. Big Sky could be pretty good next year.
Totally. I mean, great. Well, so let's talk about that part for just a minute. Of course, Sentinel on the boys' side, Bozeman Gallatin on the girls' side, they hogged the headlines because of winning the state championship. But I thought that the fact that Big Sky boys lost a heartbreaker by just 4 to Billings West in the first round, and then had to win their way all the way through morning games on Friday and Saturday to then get a shot at Hellgate, who they got swept by the regular season, and then won the third place game, was a great effort. But I thought the story of the tournament, other than the state champions, was the Big Sky girls, because I thought Avery DeCoit played out of her mind the entire tournament. I think everybody in the arena thought that Big Sky was going to beat West when she hit that three, and then it sort of fell apart on them in the last 30 seconds. And you could just see on the stream, she was devastated. She was beyond devastated when West won by 1. But then Big Sky battles back and they beat Hellgate in the third place game. I thought that was one of the stories of the tournament, and bodes well for the Lady Grizz too, because she's a future Lady Grizz. I
haven't seen that much of Big Sky girls basketball, so I've only seen her play a little bit. And when I got to watch her a couple games in the state tournament, I was impressed, and again came away excited for the future of Lady Grizz basketball, that they were able to get her. That's a shout out to Nate Harris, because my understanding is that wasn't the path that was on before Nate got the job. So a shout out there. Big Sky, they had their chances in that semifinal game. It's unfortunate that they just couldn't quite do it, but they could have pulled away and made something happen. But to come back and not let that kind of disappointment, and I will tell you, I watched that girls' championship game. No one was beating Gallatin. That team's a machine. I think you could take their best player off that team, and they probably still win.
No doubt. They were the deepest team in the state for sure, and it was almost a coronation after they won it last year. They ran the table, went undefeated. I mean, they won the state championship game by almost 20 points, so that was pretty darn impressive. Prep Extra probably presented by Farmer State Bank. Farmer State Bank, enriching the lives of Montanans since 1907. Your all-tournament team on the AA boys side: Lincoln Rogers from Missoula Sentinel, Cash Rice from Billings West, Grayson Bauman from Billings West, Zane Gilhouse from Missoula Hellgate, Jack McGowan from Missoula Big Sky, Eli Katzberg from Missoula Big Sky, Cade Robinson from Missoula Sentinel, Liam Dick from Missoula Hellgate, Chase Badbear of Billings Senior, Tice Todorovich of Helena High, Seth Lieberg of Helena High, and Keegan Grossman of Billings West. On the girls' side, Jada Davis, the future Eastern Washington Eagle from Bozeman Gallatin, was the MVP. Reese Anderson of Billings West, also on the all-tournament team, Avery DeCoit from Big Sky, Reagan Susi from West, Ava Odegaard from Gallatin, Kenzie Schmidt of Big Sky, Michaela Coleman from Gallatin, Paisley Johnson of Missoula Hellgate, Caden Scram from Butte, Macy Criswell of Billings West, Lucy Hutchins of Missoula Hellgate, and Cindy Perry of Bozeman Gallatin. You gave me a pause when I talked about Jada Davis. Do you wish she was staying in state? It's
interesting to me that neither, again, we talk about D1 programs, and on the girls' side, they're good about recruiting Montana talent.
No question. There's a lot of
Montana talent. It surprises me that neither of, especially the Lady Grizz, aren't trying to grab her. I mean, she's going to Eastern Washington, and the Eastern Washington girls coach was there.
I wonder, in D1 basketball, so often you get recruited so heavily and you sign the fall of your junior year. And that's when Jada Davis signed with Eastern Washington, was last year. Mm-hmm. I wonder if Montana
had been a year.
They'd been a year behind because Brian Holsinger was still the head coach, and maybe Nate Harris had not been there and not been engaged in that part of the recruiting. But also, Jada Davis's father is Mecklin Davis, who played for Montana State. So I wonder if Montana just said, well, we think she's going to go to the Cats. Because I know Montana State didn't recruit her as much because they had Jamison Phillip, who's their freshman, true freshman.
No, I get Montana State. I mean, they're a talented roster. But I mean, where did Montana State signee and all tournament team Cade Robinson's dad play college football?
Indeed, right? That's the thing. You throw the offer out there, right? This is something that we've talked about on your podcast, on my podcast, together. Just offer the kids.
Fight the fight. And if you don't win, I want to see
one of our mutual great friends, Andrew Schmidt. He's from Bozeman. His dad coached for the Cats. Where did he play football? Montana.
Yeah.
One of my best friends of my whole life, Ryan Bagley. His dad is in the Bobcat Hall of Fame. Where did he play football? Montana. Well, we've seen the same thing on both sides, right? When somebody goes from Missoula to Bozeman, look at Adam Jones right now. From Missoula, just recruit the kid, offer the kid. You never know when you might flip the docket. Nuanez Now, 109 ESPN Radio. We'll come back. Mike Nugent will give us some thoughts on Grizz spring football on the other side. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here. It's 129 ESPN Radio.
Les Schwab changed the tire game more than 70 years ago. Today, we still believe you should get more from less. Like more hustle, less hassle. More of the best service around, less of the runaround. Because we include America's best tire warranty in every tire we sell. So you get more unbeatable warranty, less charging you extra. It's why we're more than proud to say, you get more from less.
What do you expect me to say to her? She's getting married in 30 minutes.
We're doing everything we can.
John, can you hear me? John.
Mountain Town Vacation Rental Management, your local partner for vacation rental success. We provide a fully customized hosting experience tailored to your needs and goals. Your home is listed on every major site, helping you maximize visibility and bookings. And our local team is available 24/7 to handle guest needs and booking inquiries. Let us take the stress out of managing your vacation home. Contact us today at mountaintownvrm.com or give us a call at 406-369-3080.
Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
I said, if you getting that girl from Billings West is the pawn that tips to get the Grizz, Matt Ludwig, congratulations, you're my hero.
Would that be something?
Wouldn't that be something?
I think she was one of the good looking ones.
She's good looking, for sure.
Website or whatever, filter, instead of you spending all that time, just give me the raws and I'll
Welcome back. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran-owned, and the only Bears that should be in your garbage. It's NCAA tournament time. That's why we're coming to you from the press box. The tournament has had a few surprises today. At least I guess if High Point was an underdog, their coach does not think they were underdog. His post-game press conference was epic as they upset Wisconsin, I guess, quote-unquote, upset Wisconsin. They were 9.5-point dogs, but certainly as a 12 seed in the mix. Other finals so far today, TCU was a 9 seed, Ohio State as a 8 seed. TCU won 66-64. Duke rallied from a 14-point deficit to get a 71-65 win over Siena. Michigan State, no trouble with North Dakota State, 92-67. Nebraska ramshackles Troy, 76-47. Arkansas races past Hawaii, 97-78. Vanderbilt gets a dud against McNeese, 78-68, and Louisville squeaks it out against South Florida, 83-79. Mike Nugent, sit with me here at the press box. Okay, so you wanted to make one last point about AA basketball before
I might talk about AA basketball the rest of the segment.
Let's go.
We'll see what happens.
The people are here for the high school sports. We know that as people that live in Montana.
And this is a guy that hosts a Grizz football podcast. Hey. Somebody asked me during the weekend, as far as kind of the up-and-coming guys, what are some kids to maybe look at? I mean, not necessarily D1, but just who's up-and-coming. And there's a handful that Todorovic, the kid from
Tice Todorovic is a really good
Helena,
one.
He was fun to watch. And he's good now, and you could see how he's going to be good.
31 in the first round against CMR. He's real deal 6'5". He can handle it. And good stock too, right? Both sisters run track at Baylor, so he's got great genes.
Just an athlete, and he's a kid that should be on this list of, like, hey, if he progresses the way we think he could, right, he's someone that should be getting looks. And I am with the guys that I went to this tournament with and that I spent a lot of time watching high school basketball with. I'm the least qualified to be talking basketball, but they would probably say I'm more qualified than you to be talking about. Hey. So we'll just take that as worth. Liam Dick, obviously at Hellgate, I thought he looked pretty good. That's the first extended time
he's smooth
outside of Crosstown that I've got to watch him.
Once he gets a little bit stronger, he's going to be good because he's got great hands, good ball skills, and he's just a fluid basketball player.
Yeah, but I would shout out another kid, another sophomore, Bo O'Reilly at Sentinel. I think it's he's a great point guard. He moves the ball well.
Yeah, what a year he had.
Him playing and becoming the starter as a freshman on Sentinel's team last year after the seniors graduated that got him the state tournament game 2 years ago.
Yep.
I think that he's really stepped up and he's got a good future with Sentinel. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of build that team around him. But I think Sentinel's really well coached. I think this is kind of an underappreciated storyline in this is Sam Bigley is 26 years old.
It's crazy, man.
Kyle Hansen, MTN Sports, and I were texting, and he's got to be the youngest coach to ever win a AA state title, right?
If it isn't him, it has to be close, right? And it's a cool story, too, because Sam himself was an unbelievable player at Sentinel. And then when he graduated, he didn't go anywhere to play basketball. He just decided he wanted to not play basketball anymore.
Yep.
And a lot of people in the community around Missoula didn't like that because they were like, why isn't this guy? Well, I think Sam had D1 dreams, and those didn't get fulfilled. And he said, well, that's fine. I just want to go pursue my life then. And we talked about this in our group text a lot. Like, playing college sports at any level is a cool thing. It's a great challenge, and if you can play anywhere, even just in the Frontier Conference, you're a great athlete. That's awesome. But sometimes, like, walking away also is a good thing to progress your life. Sam did, but then it accelerated it because he got the head coaching job in Missoula Sentinel when he's 24 years old, and now he's got a state championship program. So great job by him. Yeah, I know it means a lot to him.
Yeah, in your interview with him and Lincoln the other day, they talked about when he was the JV coach,
right?
He was a freshman and letting him in the gym early. And
it's cool, man.
I think there obviously is big risk when you hire someone so young, but I think that he was the right guy at the right time. I think that he's relatable to his players. You look at it on the sideline, he doesn't seem to get too high or get too low. They seem to respond to him really well, and I think that style's there. But I also think there's a neat story tied to that, and he was, Gatorade Player of the Year at Sentinel, and he played for Jay Jagalski.
Yes.
And when he got hired as the varsity coach, the story I've heard is that he told the administration at Sentinel that he was hiring Jay to be his top assistant before he told Jay.
Amazing.
But I just think that speaks well because Jay stepped back from coaching high school to coach his kids.
Right.
And I benefit from that.
Totally.
My son plays for him. But
right.
But I just think it's such a cool dynamic of what high school sports is all about, right? The mentorship. And here's the guy that was his coach and his mentor. And Sam's this young coach and says, I'm going to do this, but I want you to come do it with me. And so Jay stepped back in. And I just think he's got a great staff and Sentinel's got a great future. So I wanted to call that out.
No doubt. Mike Duja joining us here on Nuanez Now, 109 ESPN Radio. And that's one thing I asked both Sam and Lincoln. If you missed that part of the show, you can find it on Monday's show on the Nuanez Now podcast. But Sentinel has had no dearth of talent. But they've had great players. I mean, ever since I started paying attention to high school basketball when I was James's age.
Eric Hinkle, Jordan Haskett,
so many good guys. And then when I was in high school, they had so many guys afterwards. Andy Garland. You go to Sentinel's gym, all the banners are the Gatorade Player of the Year guys. But Sam said that on the show. He said, hey, I was looking up at all these banners, and there's all these individuals. And I keep looking over at this banner, and it says 1986. We got to fix that. So I thought that was the coolest part of this, is those guys' reverence of history. And to put a bow on this and bring this full circle, I thought that the way that Lincoln Rogers reacted and the emotion that overcame him after the championship was secured was so, first of all, amazing, so cool to see, and also is like a testament to how he knew what this meant. And that is very hard to have perspective when you're a 17 or 18-year-old kid, but he did. He knew the guys that came before him, and he knew that he just accomplished something that they could not. And that's, to put a bow on our conversation, that's why I would recruit this kid all day long, because he understands what it means.
Yep. He's got the heart, and he's ready for it. And that whole program, those guys worked hard. They wanted to get there. The way Lincoln responded afterwards was awesome, and you could tell his teammates love him. The way Sam and Jay had a hug after the game, and it's just man, you could tell there's a lot of years of Sentinel working to get to this point. And that's what makes high school sports special. And that can be any school in Montana next year. So it's Sentinel won it, and we're talking about them, but that's why people love high school sports.
Mike Duja, Colter Nuanez here on Nuanez Now. Okay, last thing for you before we got to get out.
All right.
We've talked about this a lot, but you got to give us your take here on ESPN. What do you think of the graphics? What do you think of the wanted posters from Coach Bobby Kennedy out there in recruiting?
I think Coach Bobby Kennedy is recognizing that there was a piece missing from Grizz football.
Indeed.
It's interacting with the fans and the players and the recruits and making them feel the love. And we'll see what happens on game one. But between now and game one, the fan base and the recruits and the people of the Grizz Nation are going to know that they have a coach that gets that part of it and wants to make sure people feel the love.
If you haven't seen him, you can find him on all the social medias. He's doing wanted posters for the top prospects in the state of Montana. I'm looking at one for Walker Olson, who's a great talent out of Billings West. It says, if seen, contact Montana Football at 1-800-GET-GRIZZ. Hey, you could say it's corny, but it's also creative, and guess what? Nobody else is doing it, so it certainly helps Montana stand out in the recruiting game. Thanks for doing it, buddy. Good to see you.
You bet. Always glad to pinch in.
Well, it's now 109 ESPN Radio. Hour one of the books, hour two coming at you. Ryan Tutel back in the house. We'll talk all things NCAA tournament, and we will also talk, whatever else we can get to. A wild wielding and fun freestyle Thursday here on Nuanez Now, live from the Press Box Sports Bar and Grill. Come say what's up to us. We'll be down here all afternoon and evening. We'll see you soon. But on the other side, hour number two coming at you. It's Nuanez Now, 109 ESPN Radio.
Life can change in an instant. If you've been hurt in an accident, suffered from medical negligence, or are facing criminal charges, you don't have to face it alone. At Ryan Miller & Coburn, we're here to listen and fight for you. We're your neighbors, traveling across Montana to stand by your side as your link to justice. Real people, real help, right here in Montana. Ryan Miller & Coburn, your Montana attorneys.
DeMorris Buick GMC is ready to help you safely travel Montana's scenic roads in comfort and style. Stop by DeMorris today and test drive some outstanding SUVs. Right now, take advantage of closeout pricing on the exceptionally designed 2024 Buick Envision with models starting at $39,795. Don't miss this opportunity. Go to DeMorris.com to preview our inventory of 2024 Buick Envisions and then pay a visit to DeMorris Buick GMC on West Broadway in Missoula, your family-owned hometown dealership for over 60 years.
Life's about the journey, not the destination, right? Why can't it be about both? ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
It's a big dance double dip for the University of Idaho, starting tonight in Oklahoma City. Hello, I am Hayden Smith. For the first time since 2022, the same school is representing the Big Sky Conference and the NCAA men's and women's basketball tournaments. Idaho's men became the first Big Sky team to win 4 games at the Big Sky tournament. The 7th-seeded Vandals finished 9-9 in league play, but found a way to run through Sac State, Montana State, Eastern Washington, and Montana to earn the program's first NCAA tournament berth since 1990. Idaho has 21 wins overall, good enough to draw a 15 seed and a spot in Oklahoma City tonight against number 2 Houston. The Cougars, led by former Montana Tech skipper Kelvin Sampson, were the national runner-ups a year ago. The game tips at 8:10 p.m. The Idaho women are riding an 18-game winning streak and have 29 wins overall to earn a 13 seed and a matchup on Friday night against the University of Oklahoma in Norman. The game tips at 8 p.m. on Friday from the Noble Center, which is 30 minutes away from OKC. The last time the Big Sky won a game in the men's NCAA tournament came 20 years ago when the 12th-seeded Montana beat 5th-seeded Nevada. The last time a Big Sky women's team won a game in the Big Dance came in 1995 when the Montana Lady Grizz beat San Diego State 57-46. That was one of 6 NCAA tournament wins under legendary head coach Robin Selvig for Montana.
It's Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
I actually hadn't even planned on Ryan Tutel being on the show, but that's a Tutel Nuanez OG LCD sound system. That's a Ryan Tutel special.
That is a special. It's a special for me, and it's special for me to be here with you, Coulter. Always, even when it's impromptu, like it often is.
As it often should be. We are coming to you live from the Press Box Sports Bar and Grill here at the Press Box Sports Bar and Grill through the Missoula Broadcasting Company Grizzly Disposal Studio. NCAA tournament raging on. We got some finals in the books, some finals on the way. How's your bracket doing?
So far as I know, Michigan hasn't played, so it's fine.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, like the early games, unless you have, an Elite Eight team or better go down, it's kind of a wash.
That's right.
So, I mean, I got an 8-9 matchup right with TCU, but then Wisconsin lost by 1, so then I lost that one. So, I mean, this is the way these things go. So, I think the first 2 rounds of the tournament is just about trying to keep 7 or 8 of your Elite Eight intact. If you can do that, then you feel good. I know there was a lot of puckering coast to coast on that Siena-Duke game earlier with Siena. They just hit the absolute skids in the middle of the second half, and they kind of brought it around late in the game. But that would have been fun. I mean, I got Duke going a long way, but shoot, you want to give me a 16-1 upset? I'm into it. You know what I mean? But not quite to be done for Siena today.
We are coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran owned. You want to make the switch to locally owned waste management today? Call 406-541-7171 or visit grizzlydisposal.com. Grizzly Disposal, the only Bears that should be in your garbage. Meant to mention this earlier, but this is a news brief for you. We'll probably have her on the show sometime soon. But Maisie Hagum-Prinke, who is an outstanding junior at Billings West High School, she committed to the Lady Grizz last night for women's basketball. So that's a cool deal. Another in-state product in the boat for Nate Harris and the crew. I want to ask you this, Ryan, when it comes to the NCAA tournament. When this whole seismic shift happened with the transfer rules going away and NIL being instituted and sort of like the post-pandemic era, there was sort of this perception that this would alter the funnel. I thought it would make the funnel smaller.
Right.
The rich would get richer. That has been true to a certain extent, but I think the funnel is bigger even if it's smaller, if that makes sense. I think it really has killed mid-major, like maybe not mid-major, low major. There's 31 leagues in the country. I think number 17 through 31 are up a creek. But we've seen actually more contenders emerge. Like when you look at the bracket, it's not – I think the 1 seeds are very strong in this year's bracket.
For sure.
Arizona, Duke, Michigan, of course the defending champs in Florida, Iowa State, Houston, UConn, they're all right there too. But like it wouldn't be that crazy if Arkansas made to the Final Four, or Vanderbilt made to the Final Four, St. John's made to the Final Four, Kansas made to the Final Four. So there actually is probably more contenders from a Final Four perspective than there ever has been. How do you compartmentalize this as a fan, the way that this shift and the influx of massive amounts of money have influenced college basketball?
Yeah, it's an interesting consideration. I mean, when you say that conferences 17 through 31 are up a creek, it just depends what you mean. Like, what were they 10 years ago? I mean, those teams, those conference winners, aren't going to the Final Four no matter what era of college basketball.
Totally.
In general. Now, of course, you have lightning in a bottle, with Butler, say, but they were an 8 seed in the tournament when they went to the Final Four when Coach Stevens was there.
Okay, so pause on that note, though, because during that era, I think about this all the time. Miami of Ohio won their play-in game last night, right?
Right.
First NCAA tournament win since 1999. Who did they have in 1999?
Ron Harper.
Wally Zerbiak.
Oh, Zerbi, yeah, okay.
Ron Harper was
before that,
NCAA
he would have been
era, right?
In that
Ron Harper was there, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with Butler when they made the Final Four.
You gotta have
years ago.
Gordon
Hayward, right?
If you have like a draftable NBA player on your team.
So that's my question.
Yeah.
What do you make of that dynamic, though? Would Wally Zerbiak be at Miami of Ohio for his senior year right now? Would Gordon Hayward be at Butler for his senior year right now?
No.
I don't think they would.
I agree with you, but here's the other thing. you notice them when they're there,
sure,
but you don't notice them when they're not there, because them not being there is the norm. And by them, I mean these NBA level talents on mid and low major schools. And so that's when it really stands out. You like, oh my God, Damian Lillard's at Weber State, you know?
Right.
And
Damian Lillard's a great example.
So you see that, but you don't notice when Weber State's just a bunch of Big Sky talent.
Right, right.
Which is the norm. So while you're missing maybe some of those high water marks and some of that lightning in a bottle stuff, it's hard to sort of track it by negation, if that makes sense. But here's the thing that I think is sort of worth taking into consideration. We know that these players are moving around year by year, right? And they are getting offers to go here, to go there. Maybe they think they're going to get an offer, they don't get it. But the turnover of these teams is just tremendous right now.
Yes.
And especially in the low major areas, there may be a bit of a watering down of the talent taken as a whole. And I think that's a lamentation that you have had recently at the Big Sky Conference, from the men's side anyways. The women's side's been really good. But and that may be an upshot, a byproduct of all of this stuff that's going on. However, when it comes to the tournament, I would never know if Siena had six-year seniors or 6 first-year transfers.
Sure, right.
When I'm watching the tournament, I don't know who any of these guys are, other than maybe a team or two that I look at during the course of the year. And sure, you start to familiarize yourself with the guys who are on the Dukes or the Michigans, or some of the players, like even guys on Arkansas who are NBA lottery draft talent types of players. But overall, you root for your team as a fan, maybe, and in your case, you cover an entire conference very closely, so you know all those guys. But it only turns into 1 out of 63 in the tournament. And so when you're watching the tournament, you don't know who's on St. Louis. We don't even know who's on Georgia. You know what I mean?
Right.
So these two teams are going to play St. Louis and Georgia. What do we root for? Overtime. Let me see a game winner, baby. Let me see something like that.
How much basketball can we watch?
And it doesn't matter how much is this guy getting paid. How long has he been at this school? To us, it will matter to people who root for Georgia and who root for St. Louis. But when you take the tournament as a whole, nobody other than Jay Billis knows every dude on all of these teams, like nobody. And so when it comes to actually the consumption of the tournament each March, I find it pretty unchanged. I think it's great. And it doesn't matter to me, nor do I know who's been there 3-4 years or who just showed up to whatever team they're playing for now.
Nuanez Now live from the press box, proudly presented by Blackfoot Communications. Blackfoot has been helping Montanans make strong connections for more than 70 years. Blackfoot's mission to connect people, businesses, and communities. Connect to more with Blackfoot Communications. To find out more about how Blackfoot can improve your connection to your community, visit blackfoot.com. That's the dichotomy in my mind, is that on one hand, it's frustrating that I think it's very inarguable that the mid to low majors have taken a huge hit during this era, and they have way less of ground to stand on. And the likelihood of teams from not just the Big Sky, but the Big West and the WAC and the Horizon, the Summit, all these other sort of bottom 12 to 14 conferences. The likelihood of those teams making any noise in the tournament becomes less and less and less every year.
What is noise, though?
Winning a game.
Yeah, I mean,
and here's the thing: people always look at the Ivy League. The Ivy League is immune to this because the Ivy League will always be able to keep guys like TJ Power. TJ Power, he could probably take a big NIL deal to go to NC State or something like that. He goes to Penn. Why would you leave Penn?
No, you're not leaving.
It doesn't matter if they offer you $500,000 over here.
That's right.
You're going to get a $500,000 job tomorrow.
That's right.
When you graduate Penn. So that part's frustrating. On the other hand, though, if you're telling me all my second round games are St. John's versus Kansas and, Duke versus whoever, you know what I mean? Like the second round matchups that are lining up when they're all the blue bloods, it makes the tournament unbelievable. It makes it so entertaining. And so at some point you're like, oh, I love the upset. I love the high points of the world, but also screw it. Give me this, and this, right? Like some of these runs in the last couple of years that the national champion has had to go on.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking you're beating Florida last year had to beat UConn and Houston in consecutive games to win the national championship. That's very entertaining.
It's super entertaining. And the other thing, too, is we are going to get High Point Arkansas in the second round.
Sure.
So you got an upset. But High Point is like 31-4 or something on the season.
Right, exactly.
Or, well, whatever it is. But they're like, never heard of them. Wow. That's not just a team that snuck through their conference. That's a really, really good team, man. You go out there and win, high 20s ball games and have 4 losses on your season. It doesn't matter what conference you're in, you're doing it. I mean, it was a slog for any Big Sky team to get to 20 wins this year.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? If you find a team who gets to 26, 27, 28, you're going to have a team that's going to be a 14, maybe a 13 in the tournament, right?
So let's hash that part out. Because I interviewed the coaches from the top 7 teams in the Big Sky, and then we did this super segment the first day of the Big Sky tournament, which is 3 minutes from each of them, highlighting why so the Big Sky, in terms of the Ken Palm analytics, had the second lowest margin of victory of anybody in the country. The closest games, 3.8 points is what determined Big Sky games.
Right.
And the top team in the league went 13-5. The team that's in the NCAA tournament went 9-9. So that means the team that won the league only won the league by 5 games.
Right.
And but the team that won the league tournament didn't even go, and they went 500 in league, but everybody was the same. To a man, every head coach said, well, there's great coaching, which helps it be a little bit more even, but there's also this completely equitable landscape of NIL. But they also were talking about how that might actually hurt the league because you don't have this premier team that can carry the flag and maybe run the table and get you into the NCAA tournament. We haven't really had that in the Big Sky since Danny Sprinkle was there, and even those teams, like the one that played Texas Tech, got throttled. The one that played Kansas State hung a little bit. But either way, still losses for the Big Sky.
And I think that's the thing is when the Big Sky Conference has had really, really good teams and a clearly best team that went on to win the tournament, it didn't ultimately matter in getting a win for the conference for 20 years ago.
Okay, so what is the thing that eludes the Big Sky then?
The highest end talent,
is it that? Because Brooks and Nuanez and I talked about this off the top. I think a lot of it is the mentality. Because I think that again, I always go back to the Ivy League. Because the Ivy League champion is always getting a very similar seed to the Big Sky. They're getting between a 13 and a 15 seed year in and year out. And they're going to have the same athletic disadvantages that a lot of the teams in the Big Sky are going to have when they're playing the big teams. But we've seen Princeton and Yale and Harvard and Penn all compete in Big Sky or in NCAA tournament games at a high level. We saw Princeton win multiple NCAA tournament games just a few years ago. I think it's easier for those teams to encompass an underdog mentality. Because if you're Montana, you're Montana. You are the team that's playing all these teams that want to, first and foremost, knock off Montana. You are the Goliath of your league. You have a front-runner mentality. Montana State encompassed that for a little while under Danny Sprinkle. Eastern Washington sniffed that for a little bit as well. I just wonder if it's easier to encompass an underdog mentality if you have a little bit more awareness of where you sit in the landscape of college basketball.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. I do think the Ivy League, to your point, is a bit of an outlier because the types of players that they have come through.
Right. Those guys are introspective, shocking.
Yeah, and worst case scenario, you have a team that just doesn't make mistakes, and best case scenario, you have a team that doesn't make mistakes and has a freak athlete who just happens to want to go to Penn or whatever the case might be. But I think the larger point is well made by you. But also the thing is there was opportunities for the Grizzlies during the Ahmad Rory, Michael Ogine, Bobby Moorhead era.
Right.
And they got screwed. They got really tough draws, man.
They got screwed,
really tough draws.
They got screwed.
And the reality is there's some games you're just not the matchup has to be there.
Yeah.
The matchup has to be there, and you got to have the team that can get it done. And those teams could have gotten it done. I think the larger question is the days of having those types of teams in the Big Sky Conference. And it wasn't just Grizzly teams. There were some unbelievable Weber teams, some unbelievable Northern Colorado teams, Eastern Washington teams.
Totally. North Dakota had some really good teams.
And I think to have those types of things, I think that's where you can make headway. And I don't think we've seen it recently. But here's the thing. With the amount of turnover, I don't think this is an age bygone. I just think it's new every year now.
Sure.
And I do think there are going to be some seasons where the popcorn pops and whoever lands on a team, and all of a sudden you turn out to have a really good squad on your hands. But the next year you probably won't. Right. And that's the difference where, those years, the mid-teens with the Grizzlies, they had year after year after year a core of guys coming back and reloading. And even after that, you get into the Brandon Whitney era,
sure.
and you roll like that. That seems like that's not happening now. And that makes it a struggle, but it doesn't mean that in any given season you couldn't and when by you I mean really pretty much any of 8 or 9 teams in the Big Sky put a team together that could, with the right draw, maybe make an upset.
Yeah, and Ryan Tuto, Coulter Nuanez here on Nuanez Now, 129 ESPN Radio. I just wonder if some of that stuff manifests itself as well. Because we've heard this throughout the years with the selection committee. If you are a familiar name, like if you're a team that's made the tournament multiple times in a row, or 3 out of 5 years or whatever, it's more familiar names. They give you a little bit more grace. They give you a little bit more of a bump. I think that I think there's a couple of factors that have set the Big Sky back massively. When Wayne Tinkle made the tournament 3 times in 4 years at Montana, and then they had the first time when that Montana team took New Mexico down the wire. Mm-hmm. That's a boost for the league. But then when they got destroyed by Syracuse, the Will Cherry, Kareem Jamar Grizzlies, and they lost 81-36, and it was pretty much the most embarrassing.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Tournament performance by a Big Sky team. I think that really impacted the league. Then the Grizz get it back, and I know that I'm biased because I watch those Grizz teams week in and week out, and we were as close to those teams as any basketball teams we've ever covered. But them getting Michigan 2 years in a row,
it's insane.
It was asinine. It was crazy, man. Both those teams won 27 games. They had high major level talent, and it was just so brutal. Because if you even just give them a 13 seed, they're giving a 4 seed a run for the money all day long, man. And to give them a team that went to the Final Four twice in a row is insulting. But then I think that manifests itself, and the Big Sky's gotten no good draws since then too, because of what people would deem quote-unquote poor performances against, again, Michigan teams that one went to the national final and one went to the Elite Eight.
Well, and obviously, right after that, we run into COVID, and everything, has been different from then on, right? And so it's very hard to say. But the thing is that, again, I don't know how much. I can totally get kids who are like, I want to play in the ACC because I want to play at Virginia, Duke, North Carolina, whatever, on down the line. Or I want to play in the SEC and go, and so they want to, if there's a school who will offer them, hey, did I grow up rooting for Vanderbilt?
Right.
No, but I'll go play at Vanderbilt if I can play in the SEC and do that. The Big Sky does not have that, right? There's not that cachet with it where you're like, I cannot wait to get to Flagstaff, baby, So
they have it in Montana, though.
But they have it, no, they don't. They have it for the school,
right?
But not for the conference.
Sure, right. Right.
So, and I think other schools, there's probably kids who grow up wanting to play at, Northern Arizona or whatever, but certainly Montana State would lead the conference in that respect. But also, I don't know. I don't see that there is really any connection between the performance of a team in the Big Sky, or in the Big Dance from the Big Sky, and some positive or negative effect in the going out into the future as a result of however the game goes. You know what I mean? Like,
I do. Do you think that the name Montana hurts you? How is it that Montana...
Not since Yellowstone.
But how is it that Montana, the University of Montana, has made 14 NCAA tournaments? Eastern Washington's made 3. Eastern got a better draw the first time they ever made the tournament than Montana ever did.
Yeah.
Like, what do you make of that?
Yeah, now we're talking about, like, the committee and how they're putting this stuff on there.
Some of the basics of fundamentals of caring for kids.
I think that the committee...
Which is funny because, like, at this point, she's a teacher.
I think the committee does what they do each and every year, and it's new each and every year. I do think that there is some residual, but I would think that it wouldn't... They are certainly not consciously going, oh, well, Montana never figures it out. We're going to give them a
No, I just wonder if they think this, though. I wonder if they look at it and they say, all right, in the Big Sky, 2 teams draw. Those 2 teams have inflated records because they have great home court advantages. Eastern Washington plays in front of 900 to 1,200 people every time out.
So if they're good,
they're really good.
Yeah.
Montana plays in front of 4,000 every time out. So if they're, I don't know. I've thought about this a lot. I don't know if any of it actually has any validity to it or not.
I think, I hear what you're saying, but I just think ultimately when they're putting those brackets together, that's not how it goes. It is interesting that Tom Wistersill is one of the 10.
Totally.
The commissioner of the Big Sky Conference is one of the board members who's on the selection committee who's putting this tournament together. And the Big Sky Conference has actually a pretty long lineage of individuals in that room, including going back to Doug Fullerton, who was the chairperson of the committee. And so there has been plenty of representation within that room from the Big Sky Conference, and there's a level at which I think that the tournament selection committee likes that because they know there's not a conflict of interest, right? Because you're going to be a one-bid league from a low major. It's like you can look at this stuff fairly objectively, and I just think that it would be. I mean, what is the best seed that a Big Sky Conference team could possibly get?
12. But this is what I harken back to.
I mean, Miami of Ohio went through a mid-major undefeated and got an 11 barely.
Right. So the last time the Big Sky won a game, Montana got a 12 seed, right?
Yeah.
Here's the things that people forget about that Grizz team. They didn't win the league. They didn't even finish second. They finished third. But then they ran the table in the conference tournament. They only had 22 wins going into that conference tournament. We've seen Grizz teams and Bobcat teams and other Big Sky Conference champions with 25, 26, 27, 28 win totals. The things that they had, and I don't know how to rank these in importance, but one, they had a non-conference win over Wisconsin-Milwaukee when Bruce Pearl was the coach. That team's never coming to Missoula unless Larry Kostoviak's the head coach of the Grizz.
Yeah.
They had a non-conference win over Stanford. Stanford, led by Mike Montgomery, a former Grizz head coach, who's diming it up for his former player, Larry Kostoviak. They come into Missoula and saying, we'll play you on your floor, Larry. And then third, they had Larry Kostoviak as their head coach.
Yeah.
I just wonder how much those things play.
I think that stuff matters hugely. And that's why I thought, like, the year that the Grizzlies beat Pitt, and then still didn't get a seed. And Pitt, by the way, turned out to be almost a 0-win team.
I mean, they were a 3-win team that year.
Yeah, but in conference, I don't know if they even did win a game. So that turned out to be disappointing. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it for the Grizzlies. But I do think that getting those non-conference, and even if it's not a win, but the Grizzlies played Oregon a couple years straight.
Yes.
And
they got to do better in those games.
Yes.
That's the point.
You got to be able to
Houston
be
plays
there.
Idaho this evening. When the Grizz played Idaho, they lost 84-40. Like that can't be the score.
Right.
Like you're going to lose by a lot, but it needs to be like 84-60.
Right.
Not 84-40. Like that, those are the things that when the tournament, and it's not just about the Grizz, but when they're looking at your resume, that's the thing that you have to look at.
And it wouldn't surprise me too if in the one bid leagues the committee does look at the last 10 years of that league and be like, well, what's the average margin of defeat?
Sure.
7 points? Oh, okay. Oh, 27 points. Oh,
exactly.
Not so good, right?
Exactly.
And not that a team that's 8 years, prior and 2 states away should have any influence on you and what you do, but the conference has a reputation, and the reality is the Big Sky Conference reputation is meh when it comes to the national, scope of college men's basketball.
Nuanez Now tonight, ESPN Radio. Ryan Tutel joining me, Colter Nuanez here through the Grizzly Disposal Studio. We are on hand on the press box, presented by Blackfoot Communications. Blackfoot Communications is an awesome friend of ours. They are excellent at connecting people across communities. If you want to find out how Blackfoot can connect you to your community, visit goblackfoot.com. Scrolling to see if there's any recent finals since the last time we gave you an update.
We're kind of in the mid.
We're kind of in the mid part, right?
In the middle of the
VCU,
deal.
North Carolina's going. It's about halftime, about 3 minutes till half. North Carolina up 32-21. I know that was a little bit of a popular upset pick. We're sort of in that middle session. We have a whole bunch of games starting, though. Howard and Michigan starts at 5:30. Texas and BYU starts at 5:35, as does Texas A&M and St. Mary's. And then the 7 p.m. slate, Penn versus Illinois, St. Louis versus Georgia, Kennesaw State versus Gonzaga, Idaho versus Houston. We'll take a break, come back, keep on talking NCAA tournament on the other side. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
What do you expect me to say to her? She's getting married in 30 minutes.
We're doing everything we can.
John, can you hear me? John.
At Shields, we're anglers, endlessly seeking and refining techniques. We're hunters and storytellers, because we've been out there. We're experts that put products and gear to the test, so we can share that knowledge with you. At Shields, we understand your outdoor journey and the path you're on, because we walk it too, every step of the way. Shields, right there with you.
Mountain Town Vacation Rental Management, your local partner for vacation rental success. We provide a fully customized hosting experience tailored to your needs and goals. Your home is listed on every major site, helping you maximize visibility and bookings. And our local team is available 24/7 to handle guest needs and booking inquiries. Let us take the stress out of managing your vacation home. Contact us today at mountaintownvrm.com or give us a call at 406-369-3080.
The rare moments in life, they're not just few and far between. They're meant to be treasured.
Bring the whole family to the Stone of Accord for a wonderful brunch. From traditional comfort food to eclectic specials, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And it wouldn't be a proper Missoula brunch without an Irish coffee and a mimosa. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino. At the Stone of Accord, we use the freshest ingredients to create our homemade traditional Irish classics, fresh salads, and creative specials. Come enjoy our warm, family-friendly atmosphere. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino.
It's a big dance double dip for the University of Idaho, starting tonight in Oklahoma City. Hello, I am Hayden Smith. For the first time since 2022, the same school is representing the Big Sky Conference and the NCAA men's and women's basketball tournaments. Idaho's men became the first Big Sky team to win 4 games at the Big Sky tournament. The 7th-seeded Vandals finished 9-9 in league play, but found a way to run through Sac State, Montana State, Eastern Washington, and Montana to earn the program's first NCAA tournament berth since 1990. Idaho has 21 wins overall, good enough to draw 15 seed in a spot in Oklahoma City tonight against number 2 Houston. The Cougars, led by former Montana Tech skipper Kelvin Sampson, were the national runner-ups a year ago. The game tips at 8:10 p.m. The Idaho women are riding an 18-game winning streak and have 29 wins overall to earn a 13 seed and a matchup on Friday night against the University of Oklahoma in Norman. The game tips at 8 p.m. on Friday from the Noble Center, which is 30 minutes away from OKC. The last time the Big Sky won a game in the men's NCAA tournament came 20 years ago when the 12th-seeded Montana beat 5th-seeded Nevada. The last time a Big Sky women's team won a game in the Big Dance came in 1995 when the Montana Lady Grizz beat San Diego State 57-46. That was one of 6 NCAA tournament wins under legendary head coach Robin Selvig for Montana.
This is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
Welcome back, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Nuanez Now coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio, but from the press box. Right on Broadway, right next to the University of Montana campus. The madness is real. Here we are, first day of the NCAA tournament. Please join us tomorrow if you'd like at the Rocket R Bar in Bozeman, Montana. Fun first couple of days. Ryan Tutil riding shotgun with me, Colter Nuanez. We're going to hear from Addison Harris of the Montana State women's basketball team in just a minute, because MSU is the only team, the only Division I team at least, from Montana that remains still playing. They're playing the WNIT early next week, but it's a continuation of the conversation we just had, Ryan.
Yeah.
And this is something that I think is another part that's frustrating. We were talking about what it's going to take for a Big Sky Conference team to get a legitimately good draw in the men's basketball tournament. The women's side, the women are not nearly as stubborn and stringent about non-conference scheduling. So it actually makes it realistic when you're a team on the rise like Montana State. They won 30 games last year, and they got a 13 seed, and they thought that was maybe low. But they looked at it and they said, okay, well, where are we at? We need to play more quad 1 games, quad 2 games. So this last year they played 5 quad 1 games. They only won 2 of them, but they won 2 of them.
Right.
So it makes it so they have some upper momentum.
Yeah.
We could get into the whole debate about how they got jobbed by not getting the WBIT rather than the WNIT. But either way, they're a 26-win team that continues their season.
Right.
But we've seen this on the women's side where the top 3 teams in the Big Sky are top 75 in the net. So anybody that wins the Big Sky tournament out of those top 3 is going to be fast-tracking towards a 12 or a 13 seed rather than 14, 15, 16 seed. It's just an interesting dichotomy that exists, and I mean, I guess there's no question. It just all resides upon money. I just think it's unfortunate that the men's game, like the Bobcats, for example, hosted UNLV this year. The Lady Grizz hosted BYU this year. Those teams are never coming to Missoula or Bozeman to play men's games.
That's right. Yeah, and it is an interesting dynamic taken as a whole as to why the women's game, and let's be clear, in basketball, it's the coaches who do the schedules.
Correct.
And so a lot of times this is happening through personal relationships, personal contacts.
Correct.
And people are willing to go play, and maybe a belief, too, about your team and your chances of winning a game or not, or chances of losing a game if you're, a top 25 team going on the road against a really good mid-major, do you want to take that risk? And more often than not, the answer is no. And I think that's too bad. And I think that is, on the men's side, I think that has a lot to do with the perception of, and perhaps also the reality of the pressure cooker and the expectation and the short leash that exists at large.
Right.
If you go on the road or even at home and host a good team that you are supposed to be better than and you lose, the impact and potential impact to your future and your career is more significant than it is in the women's game. And I think the women's game is doing it better.
Exactly.
Right? And so it shouldn't. If Mark Few is a bad example because Mark Few is never going to be on a hot seat. But if a coach who's been a head coach 5 years at a top 25 program wants to go challenge his team in a losable game against a lower conference opponent, but maybe an equal team, that conversation, he's got to talk to the AD, maybe he's got to talk to the president, maybe he's got and say like, hey, this is why I'm doing this, and if we lose, we might lose a seed in the tournament. And, all of these ripple effects and butterfly effects that probably are carried out too far end up being part of the conversation, and they really shouldn't be.
The attendance plays so much too, right? Like, coaches will bring their teams to Montana State or Montana because guess what? You're walking into a place where there's going to be 3,500, 4,000 fans, right? So that's a tough place to play, even if you're saying, we're playing a Big Sky team. They're RPI number 17 or whatever. It doesn't matter. If you're UNLV, for example, you're going to go to multiple places in the Mountain West where there's not 4 digits worth of fans watching your games. So you're saying, well, we'll go play at Montana because, that's a challenge for us. There's going to be a raucous environment. It's going to be a fun place to play. It disappoints me so much it doesn't exist anymore in men's basketball. Like I love going through the old media guides, etc., for some of the old men's basketball teams. Like Gonzaga has come to Missoula a ton in the past.
I remember watching the University of Washington play the Grizzlies in Missoula as a kid. Watched it. Travis
DeCuire's first game as the head coach of the Grizz. Boise State came here. Leon Rice said, I'll let you do the debut.
Yeah.
The Grizz lost on a buzzer beater. But Leon Rice said, I'm never going back to Missoula. Heck no, we're not doing it. The point is that the women's game is in a better place when it comes to non-conference scheduling, and it in turn makes Big Sky Conference basketball teams have a higher level of opportunity when it comes to the national tournaments.
I have a couple things just to steer. It's related to this, but shifting out of the Big Sky Conference to sort of get a little bit more perspective.
Okay, hold it, because on the note of the Montana State women's basketball team, we have just a short interview, about 5 minutes here, with Addison Harris about their opportunity to play in the WNIT. They will play at a TBD time and day next week, but they will host. They will play the winner of Utah Valley and San Francisco. Those two teams play here in just a quick minute. So, Addison Harris on the postseason bid for the Montana State women's basketball team.
Wasn't sure if we were going to have another Montana State minute checking in with Montana State women's basketball, but now we do, because Montana State will play another game. Bobcats accepted a WNIT invite, and they await the winner of San Francisco and Utah Valley. Addison Harris, a first-team all-conference forward for the Bobcats, joining us. Addie, thanks for being here. How you doing?
Doing good. Thank you for having me.
Take me just through the sort of roller coaster of emotions, because obviously a heartbreaker to lose in the championship game. But I know you guys thought at least hoped you'd get another shot, to get a chance to play. So when you heard that you did, what was the reaction? And just take me through sort of the ebbs and flows of the emotions of the loss, but then realizing you have another game to play.
Yeah. So we were actually on, like a few days ago, we were all in Coach's house, like waiting to see if we got like a bid for the WBIT, which is another bracket that's sponsored by March Madness. And we didn't get one, even though our ranking is better than some of the teams who did get one. So we were a little frustrated about that. But the WNRT is just another opportunity to prove like how much they like looked over us. Another chance to potentially get another championship.
Well, take me through the Big Sky tournament, because, obviously it was a roller coaster for you guys, but an amazing win over Eastern Washington against the championship game, and then a hard-fought game in the championship as well against Idaho. So just take me through it from your perspective and how it went for you guys.
Yeah, so Montana, they were dealing with some like stomach bugs on their team. Like they had Mac and Avery, and who two are their biggest players. They took a hit. But Eastern game, that was like, you saw, it was like neck and neck the whole game. Bree hits that like incredible shot. We go into overtime, and right when we go into overtime, I'm like, all right, like we've got this. We've got the momentum. Like we got our defensive intensity, and that's going to stay consistent from the fourth quarter into the overtime. So that was a bit of a thriller. And then we turned around and played Idaho, and that was still stings a little bit. It'll sting for the next month or so, but yeah, we just like weren't ourselves defensively. Like they did a good job playing and exposing us on our defensive ends. And then the fourth quarter, like we really like pulled it together, and we kept them under 14 that quarter, which is our goal for every quarter. But yeah, like by 3, man, it's just so close. It's right there.
Having another team in the league that sort of pushes you forward. I mean, NAU was that team for a couple years, and now Idaho is sort of that team. What's it like to just have another team like that? I mean, does that help drive you guys, knowing there is another team out there that is, sort of on this next level? I mean, a mid-major top 20 team and a top 60 in the net, all that sort of stuff like you guys are. Does that help motivate you or drive you at all?
Yeah, absolutely. The nicest thing about it is Idaho was able to kind of like expose all these like weaknesses that we had the second time around that we played them at their place. They exposed like all these things that we really like. It's really good. We figured those out and figured out how to guard those before going into a Big Sky tournament. So that's really like the biggest benefit. And obviously it's like something to look forward to, something to pack the brick for as well too.
Yeah, no doubt. Addison Harris joining us here on Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. You guys have, we've talked about this a lot this year, but you guys are a young team relatively. I mean, no seniors, and a lot of your best players are sophomores and even freshmen. So just getting another chance to play, how much do you think that can help you guys improve now that you do have another sort of postseason opportunity coming?
Like, absolutely. It's ultimately like, it's kind of like the Big Sky tournament all over again. We get to play in bracket play. It's the same intensity. Everyone's looking to come in here with the ultimate goal in mind of winning another championship. So being able to compete against schools like that and ultimately like get that experience for us moving forward is going to be super important.
How do you go about preparing for an opponent that you don't know? You guys will obviously watch the game on Thursday, but is that a little bit challenging, just not knowing who you're going to play, even though you know you're in this tournament?
Not really. We always try to focus more like, except for like their plays, presses, what they run and stuff like that. Our main goal leading up to the game is always focusing on ourselves and what we need to do to kind of like play us, because our defense is so like good at just turning people over, and we kind of take pride in that. And so just getting that honed in, like no matter who we're playing, is always the most important part.
Well, I know it's still to be determined if you guys get to be at home, but I'm pretty much assuming you're going to be at home. So if you do get another chance to play in Bozeman, that must mean something to you guys. It should be fun for you guys.
Yes, absolutely. I don't want to get too hopeful because I was pretty hopeful with the BIT. Right. But yeah, if we do get a home game, which I hope, really, really hope we do, we should. It would be Sunday or Monday. It's most looking like.
Right. So just another week of practice, another quick turnaround. So how do you hope to manage this? And I mean, how are you guys feeling coming into this next opportunity?
Good. Like we're a little banged up from the tournament, but everyone's like taking matters into their own hands to get healthy, like doing extra recovery, like spending time in the training room, doing what you need to do in practice. But we're just like continuing with the same intensity we have going into the Big Sky tournament.
Where's the thing you think maybe this team can continue to grow? Like, where's one spot where you think you do have some room for improvement as you get another opportunity?
I'm going to say like consistency in our defensive principles. I think you saw that a little bit in Idaho. We're really like inconsistent on what we do according to like fatigue, especially, which comes like naturally with being a young team. And this is the WNIT is exactly like another chance to work those out again before the next year.
Well, what do you think it's going to take for you guys to make a run?
I think it's going to take our, like I said, like the defensive consistency and bring in the like same thing, the same intensity, same principles every time.
Well, it should be fun to follow. We'll certainly will be following along again. San Francisco and Utah Valley play on Thursday, and then we'll find out when Montana State and where they play next. But we'll certainly keep you in the loop. Addison Harris from Montana State Women's Basketball joining us here on Nuanez Now. Addie, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate Addison Harris for joining us. I think that's her third appearance on the show so far this winter season. That's what happens when you are a first-team all-conference performer as a sophomore. Well, it's now coming to you from the press box. Thanks to our great friends at Blackfoot Communications for helping us out, hooking us up. Blackfoot Communications has been helping Montanans make strong connections for more than 70 years. Blackfoot's mission is to connect people, businesses, and communities. Connect to more with Blackfoot Communications. To find out how Blackfoot can improve your connection to your community, visit blackfoot.com. One more break, come back, give you the most recent on the NCAA tournament, and maybe some picks for today and tomorrow. That's next. Keep it right here, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Bring the whole family to the Stone of Accord for a wonderful brunch. From traditional comfort food to eclectic specials, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And it wouldn't be a proper Missoula brunch without an Irish coffee and a mimosa. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino. At the Stone of Accord, we use the freshest ingredients to create our homemade traditional Irish classics, fresh salads, and creative specials. Come enjoy our warm, family-friendly atmosphere. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino.
Access to Montana's great backyard is the best part of being a Grizzly. At the University of Montana, our classrooms are the mountain peaks, river valleys, and never-ending plains of the Big Sky Country. We provide students with the hands-on training to protect and enjoy hunting, conservation, and stewardship. UM launches the careers of outdoor leaders so that they can protect our traditions and ensure they are passed down for future generations. Because what's made in Montana is remaking the world.
Why would any business let you use their product and give you 365 days of reassurance? Mattress Firm does because they believe in their mattresses. Save on top brands like Nectar, Tempur-Pedic, Beautyrest, Serta, Stearns & Foster, and others. Mattress Firm carries $149 mattresses all the way up to the luxury Purple Rejuvenate Premier. 0% in payments as low as $39 a month, along with 365 days of reassurance. See why Mattress Firm is Montana's best place to find the sleep you deserve.
Mattress Firm, where it's easy to get a great night's sleep.
It's Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
The second session underway. The madness is upon us. We're down here at the Press Box Sports Bar and Grill. We only got about, 4 minutes of the show, but I'll be hanging out for a while. So if you want to come down, please do. Colter Nuanez. Appreciate Blackfoot Communications for putting us up here at the Press Box. And thanks to the Press Box for hosting halftime of the VCU North Carolina game. North Carolina up 39-28. Texas and BYU underway about 8 minutes in. BYU clinging to a 21-20 lead. Texas A&M St. Mary's underway. Texas A&M up 13-10 over the Gales and Michigan, Ryan's national champion pick.
I did pick Michigan because I didn't think they would be the most picked team to win it all. So I thought, I'm going to take a little flyer. I mean, they're a 1C, it's not a big flyer, but.
Okay, here's a trivia question for you. Ryan Tutel chiming in here for the last couple of minutes of Nuanez Now. If you've been listening to the show, you can find it on the Nuanez Now podcast, available on all your various podcast hosting platforms. When's the last time a Big Ten team won the national championship?
Oh, good gracious. So Michigan State won in 2000. So that's got to be more recent than that, but who would it have been? That's it?
That's it.
Michigan State in 2000?
Correct. Well,
it's always an opportunity.
Michigan State has made the Final Four 9 times in Tom Izzo's career. When they made it in 2000, it was the second time. They've made it a full 7 times since then and not won any national championships. Trying to think of other. I mean, Michigan's made it the Final Four a couple times.
Okay, so I got to say, though, a couple things here. First of all, when we talk about the Big Ten, how about the Nebraska Cornhuskers, a 30-point win over Troy today?
Yep.
For the first ever tournament victory in the history of Nebraska men's basketball.
Crazy, right?
The last team left in any of the high major conferences to not have won a tournament game, and today they did it, beating Troy handily, I might add,
how about that?
76-47.
How about that juxtaposition? We open it up, we let people pay people. Nebraska can't win a game in football, but they win a game in the NCAA tournament, and Indiana wins the national championship in football and can't sniff it in basketball.
Just like we expected.
Thought it was going to go.
And here's the other thing. You talk about teams like who should be good. How about SMU? SMU lost to Miami of Ohio last night. SMU hasn't won a tournament game since I think the 88 or something like that.
Correct, yep.
How could a school in Dallas-Fort Worth, with all the money in the universe, not have
it's crazy
basketball that's at that, like, just winning a game here and there? That's so, we talk about the Big Sky, and this is where we are in the Montana.
Sure.
But, there are other schools and other programs who, I mean, the Big Ten hasn't won a natty in 26 years.
That's right.
Right? So those are, in a national championship's a much bigger a different deal than a single game.
Sure.
But nonetheless, I'm stunned by that.
I mean, all you need to know is that Kentucky is the highest paid roster in college basketball. They're a 7 seed that a lot of people are betting to lose in the first round.
Or tomorrow, yeah.
BYU is second highest paid. They're a 6 seed.
Yep.
A lot of people think they're going to be on the ropes against Texas, and here they are. Texas is up 23-21 with 11 minutes to go in the first half. So money isn't everything, and it's what gives me solace. It's why I love that Indiana won it, right? Indiana does not have a top 25 payroll in college football. They have the most experience, and they got the best coach, and those are the two things that have mattered throughout all of time in football. That's what matters for Indiana as well.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it is a fun tournament, and as we rock and roll, we got ourselves one major upset, one close upset, and I'm sure plenty more to come as we roll through on a Thursday, Friday. The best 2 days of college basketball, baby, right here, right now.
All right, we only got about 20 seconds left. Idaho plus 23.5. What do you think? Can they figure it out against Houston? I'd say no.
The only way they cover is playing the slowest game they've ever played.
I totally agree. I think the Vandals are up against it. I got Houston winning the whole thing, so I think they're going to roll tonight against Idaho. We'll have full recaps for you tomorrow. We'll be kicking it at the R-Bar in Bozeman. We'll see you then. Appreciate all the guys back at the studio for getting us on the air and for producing, as always. We'll see you at 4 p.m. tomorrow. It's been Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio.